morning, everybody. Had to make sure I hit that button over there. Let's check the audio one more time. There it is. Look at that. I'm telling you, it's going to be a thing now. It's always been a thing, but it's going to be even more of a thing now. What's up, y'all? It is the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. I was watching that 49ers-Rams game yesterday, and I am going to continue to solidify my hater of the year status. I was so damn excited. I was so damn happy watching the 49ers lose. It was the ugliest damn game I think I've seen in quite some time. Sorry, I'm trying to adjust my microphone. It's all in the way. I think actually right there should be okay. Right there should be okay. I'm sorry if you heard all of the fumbling around with the microphone. I was trying to do some adjusting of things here because I'm going to start doing audiobooks and voiceover work and stuff like that. So I'm trying to make sure that my studio here is the best it can be. I always hear like a low level hum, and I'm trying to get rid of that. Again, probably not anything any of y'all care about, just something that is on my mind, the way that my weird brain works. But I'm watching that 49ers game yesterday, and I am just insanely happy watching them lose. And I shouldn't have been, right? Like, it was an ugly game. No one should have been watching that game. It was pretty god awful, if I'm being honest, as far as a viewing experience went. And I also learned yesterday, like, how many people don't have Amazon Prime. And I just, like, I sit there and I think to myself, how much better would my life be if I didn't pay for subscriptions just to simply watch sports? Like, obviously, like, it's not going to be like I have a ton of just fluid income. Like, I'm not going to be Scrooge McDuck diving into a pool or a safe full of gold coins or anything like that. But man, like, maybe, just got a little something extra. Maybe I can go do something else. I don't know. Maybe I'll probably drive around more so that money will just go to my gas. There's parts of, like, there's days where I love having a Mustang and days where I hate having a Mustang. I try not to let my tank get too low because I don't like seeing the numbers go up. So I think today I'm at like 3/4 of a tank. I think I'm going to fill up just to be like, yeah, it took me $15 to fill up my car. The very first car I had was a 1973 Buick Century Coupe with a 350 motor in it, right? That old school GM 350. And that thing had a massive gas tank. And I remember in like 1998 filling it up for like $25 and thinking, like, this is outrageous. This is egregious, these gas prices. Get off my lawn, you young whippersnappers. I see that my dude Tommy Cananza is tuned in. Explain to your youthful daughter what life in the 90s used to be like. But yes, that old school 1973 Buick Century. Tommy Cananza saying he had 4 fantasy players in that night. Last night with San Francisco, got him a combined 20 points. It was a horrible game. I had one. I had one fantasy player, and that it was George Kittle. I know he got a 37-yard reception, so right there, yeah, 5 points off of that if that's all he got. I wasn't, I guess, necessarily paying attention to the game so much because Medusa Designs had sent me a message on Facebook, and it showed a really cool feature that Amazon had that I didn't know that Amazon had. I was like, I'm watching football like a caveman this whole entire time. They have StatCast, and I see all the alternate broadcasts whenever I log in and I do all my thing, but I don't like alternate broadcasts. Like, I don't like the Manning cast. I think it's boring. I like some of the stories that come out of it, but I could not imagine watching the entire Manning cast for 3.5 hours of a football game, especially like last night's football game. And I click on the StatCast feature that Amazon Prime has, and seeing the it was kind of like Madden. Like whenever you're playing Madden and stuff, right? I'm not a big video game dude, but I love Madden. I love NBA 2K. And just seeing, the routes being ran in real time by the athletes, to me, that was super awesome to see. I'm getting messages from people on Instagram. I'm not even on Instagram right now. It's asking, can you vote for my son? I will read that a little bit later. Probably shouldn't have done that in the middle of a show. But I like the StatCast feature that I saw yesterday with with the Amazon broadcast, because you got to see like the routes being ran. It was kind of like, they had the name highlighted and all that stuff. I thought that was really cool, but that's also because I'm a super nerd. I've got no problems owning the fact that I'm a damn nerd, right? And I thought to myself, why did it take this long for someone to create an alternate broadcast like this? Like if the Manning cast had that type of stat cast going along with it, I would enjoy it a little bit more. There's something about seeing the route being ran in real time with like a tracer actually following it, seeing the motion man moving around. Obviously, like if you watch the game enough, you know who is who. But cool seeing, the little circle with their name under it, and it's in Ram colors or it's in 49er colors or anything like that. I was sitting here thinking to myself, like, that's a hell of a job by Amazon. And I think, again, like going back to the earlier statement of why do I keep paying for all of these broadcasts and just the ability to possibly see football games, I'm glad I pay for that now. Like, it sucks that I've had it for 2 years. I don't know how long they've had it, but it sucks that I've had Amazon Prime for 2 years, and I find out in week 14 that this is a thing that we can actually do. Like, it was super cool to see. Tommy Cananza saying Cooper Kupp was one of the people he had. 0 points. It's the playoffs, for Christ's sake. Oh, man. I'm in 4 leagues. I am in 4 leagues, and in one of the leagues, I made the playoffs. And the thing that sucks about it is in all of the other 3 leagues that I missed the playoffs, I missed it by like a game. And it was just, what the hell that fantasy football is, where you put one player in because the stats are saying that player is going to do better. And you're like, I don't know, but, there's a reason why they're doing this. And so you put that player in and the guy on your bench gets like 50 and the dude that you put in got you absolutely nothing. And the thing that hurts the most in one of these leagues is this is a league with my friends from like ESPN. And I started the season. I was in first place of the season for like 3 weeks. And that has never really happened to me before. And now all of a sudden, missed the playoffs by a single game. I'm in like the little elimination tournament. They have the poop emoji as like the trophy that the winner of that loser's bracket gets. Like, you're the biggest piece of shit out of all the pieces of shit that are there. Augustine Pimentel saying, good morning to all. I don't pay for Amazon Prime. I have a broken Roku. LOL. Augustine also saying that he's in 2 fantasy leagues and betting for first place in both. That's the way that it should be right there, my guy. And then Augustine saying that I am the Cowboys of the ESPN group. You know what? It's true, but my guy, guest of the show, he was on last week, Jason Fitz. He's a Raiders fan from Vegas. Raiders fan, has been a Raiders fan since before they went to Vegas. And I just take happiness in knowing that I beat our head-to-head matchups multiple times. Like, he cannot beat me. And I will say it to the day that I die. Like, anytime a Raiders fan comes up to me starting to talk some shit, I'll be like, guy, your team hasn't won a damn Super Bowl since before I was born. 1983. I'm a 40-year-old man now with like mortgage, back pain, VA appointments that I have to go to in January. Like, you're a Raiders fan. How dare you talk crap to me? And then, like, Fitz, like, he doesn't talk any crap. He just says my beloved Raiders and takes his L multiple times, much like the Dallas Cowboys, right? But I hate these things where you get like a Bears fan or a Vikings fan or like a Falcons fan or like any of these other, random ass fans of teams that just aren't good. I had an Arizona Cardinals fan talking crap to me on Threads the other day. I'm like, you're an Arizona Cardinals fan. What the hell have they done? Ever. Just ever. In the 100-year history that the Arizona Cardinals have been around. I think, if I'm not mistaken, and I might be wrong on this, they are the original franchise in the NFL. They might be the oldest franchise in the NFL, the Arizona Cardinals. And they've done nothing. At least like a Lions fan, I can understand now. Like, you're getting some success. Your head's getting swollen. Been to an NFC championship game, 12-1 this year. I get it. I will genuflect to thee at this moment. But if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan of all people, the hell are you doing? Like, how dare you talk crap? I've never had a Browns fan talk crap to me. I've had Bengals fans of all people talk crap to me as well. It's the weirdest thing to be like, oh, your team is terrible. Your team is the Bengals. I remember back in like the early 90s, you used to be able to be like, yeah, your team's the Patriots. They're garbage. And now you have to be like, oh, well, what's the statute of limitation on that? Because I feel like if the Dallas Cowboys weren't able to buy any goodwill and like, because it was even like in the early 2000s that people were like, oh, it's been since 1995 that the Dallas Cowboys hadn't won a Super Bowl. No, it's been 6 years since the Cowboys won a Super Bowl. What's the statute of limitations where we can start being like, oh yeah, well, the Patriots haven't won a Super Bowl since this year. I think it's been 5, but they had shit. Bill Belichick won a Super Bowl 5 years ago, and we're wondering if he's going to be able to recruit college players. All these players know him as the greatest coach in the history of coaching, at least football-wise. Jesus. Tommy Canonso once again reminiscing the good old 90s, saying 10 years. 10 years is the statute of limitation. But, I mean, if you won 6 and 20 years, I feel like you should be able to get a little more, right? Like a little more leeway on this. Augustine Pimentel saying the question. We talk so much crap about the Cowboys and 49ers in one more year, and then you've got the Raiders. I think it's because with the Cowboys and the 49ers, there was expectation, right? Like those teams were dynasties. Those 49ers teams in the 80s, those Cowboys teams in the 70s and the 90s, those were dynasties. They basically built an entire, 3-generation span of fans that love those teams, right? The Raiders, yeah, they won a couple of Super Bowls in the 80s, but it wasn't like it was like a dominant thing. And whenever you look in the pantheon of like NFL history, when you look at those dynastic type teams in the 80s, you're thinking 49ers. You're thinking like the Chicago Bears, and I know they won 1 Super Bowl. You're even thinking of like the Washington Redskins. Can I call them Redskins? Like if it's thinking about them in the past, or does the Commander's name go to the past? I have to like think about this. Either way, I'm rolling with it. Executive decision being made right here in the middle of the show. It's their past, right? Like if I'm referring to them in the 80s, they were the Washington Redskins in the 80s. That's what they were when they won. They're the commies now. Augustine Pimentel saying, so in 5 years, we're going to be talking about the Patriots 2000s and 2010s. Augustine and Tommy agreeing that they still call them the Redskins. Watch Roku censor us. Not on Roku today. That's why I've been able to drop the F-bomb and the shit words and all that stuff. Not on Roku today. I still feel like I can say those words. I just want to try to be a little more professional to that audience because I'm trying to build, the whole brand of all the nonsense that I'm going to be doing, which is absolutely hilarious that on my TikTok today at 10 o'clock, I have a live scheduled for people to ask me about my happy nuts. This is my life. I'm 40. I'm a 40-year-old man, and I'm sitting here talking about my happy nuts. If you didn't see the Augustine saying the audience, what about us? I do this show specifically for y'all. Y'all get the me that you know and love, or maybe no. I don't know about the love part. I'm hoping, I'm making up for the lack of love of being an adopted child, and I'm trying to get that through y'all. Once again, the therapy session. I think I want to do that one of these days where it's like a late night show with me, and I'll be like, come join me on the couch and let's just talk about what's bothering you today. I'll be your online therapist. I do have a background in psychology, right? It's crazy to me because I did 3.5 years at UTEP with psychology as my major. And whenever my mother passed away, I was like, you know what? Let me Let me try to do radio. She always told me she wanted to hear me on the radio. Mom was born in 1929. She only had a radio back then. So it was like a whole thing. Like, let me change my entire life and become a radio personality. And as crappy as it has been at times, I wouldn't go back and change it. I kind of like the cool stuff that I did. Again, the kid from Socorro High School doesn't get to go work at ESPN, doesn't get media credentials to go work with the NFL and cover the NFL draft, right? Like, I realize how lucky and how blessed I am, but it's taken a lot of work. Augustine Pimentel saying that he feels special that I am doing the show on Fridays just for him, or just for y'all, rather. And then also saying, no. The therapy couch sessions with Tip sounds creepy. No, you see, it would be creepy if I did it in this voice. Come over here. Sit down on the couch. Tell me what's going on. The Ken Kniff from Connecticut voice. For those that know the old school albums, I salute you. I also got called out the other day. Because I was drinking coffee out of this mug. And it has my name on it. And people were like, oh, look at this guy. He has to have a coffee mug with his name on it because he's stupid. He doesn't know what his name is. And I said, no, you asshats. It's because I'm left-handed. This is a left-handed coffee mug. You know how hard it is to find a left-handed coffee mug that actually has your name and like all those things on it that you need? Like, I can write with both hands. I can throw with both hands. I cannot for the life of me hold a fork or even a cup in my right hand. It's the weirdest thing in the world to me. Yes, I can write with both hands, and I think some people have seen me actually do the throwing with both hands. Augustine Pimentel saying that kid does not get credentialed by UTEP. Man, eventually they relented on it. It took me being a little snarky. Augustine saying go to the left-hand store. I don't even think that's a thing. Is that a thing? Is there a left-handed store? I know Ned Flanders had one in The Simpsons. Are we going that far back? The Leftorium? Is that what it was called? But yes, I digress. So 10 years. We're going to say 10 years is the amount of time that it's going to take for us to just forget about a dynasty. I guess not forget, but where that dynasty can no longer go touting their Super Bowl wins, right? And then to me, what constitutes a dynasty? Like the Philadelphia Eagles. How long does it take that one-off team, that one-off team that won a singular Super Bowl? How long does it take that team to say, okay, now you can't live off of the laurels of that old school Super Bowl? Because for me, like the Eagles, once again, one of the oldest teams in the NFL. Took them, 55 years, 52 years to win a Super Bowl? How long do they get to sit there and be like, we won the Super Bowl? You know what I mean? Like I think what we're doing now is we're going to create the rules of what sports decorum should be. Tommy Canazzo saying 3 years. I'm surprised you went that far. I thought you were going to say a week and a half. With your hatred of the Philadelphia Eagles, I really thought you were going to be like, they get to talk about it for 1 week after the Super Bowl, maybe 7 more days after that. Like, I really thought that was a route that you were going to go, man. Tommy Canazzo saying theirs expired after 2020. I am good with that, man. I you know what? I'm with it. I'm with you on that one, dude. I was working at ESPN, and I was in the radio studio. We were getting ready to do the Super Bowl post-game show. And a lot of the friends that I made over there were from, Philadelphia or Pennsylvania or just, Jersey, that random area. So I was happy to see my friends get to watch their team win a Super Bowl. And we're talking about all kinds of ages of like someone was 22 at that point in time. And then someone else was, I want to say like 63-ish. Right. And to see, those, again, spanning the generations of being able to watch them be absolutely speechless and dumbfounded and, on the verge of tears, not wanting to cry in a room full of other men because they got to witness their team win a Super Bowl. That to me was one of the cooler things that I got to actually like talk about. Augustine Pimentel says, while you're the winningest franchise, you can talk about it. Ooh, I don't think you're going to like that one, my guy. Let's see. All right, I'm looking it up right now, and I was right. The winningest franchise by winning percentage in NFL history is the Dallas Cowboys with a 576 win percentage. So now it's just going to be championships, right? So we forget the 40 years of ineptitude that the Patriots had? I don't think so, my guy. It's all about a holistic look here. The Dallas Cowboys, the winningest franchise in NFL history, 5 Super Bowl wins. Let's see where the Patriots are on this list. The Patriots are number 5 at 555. What a number. So the Cowboys are tied for number 2 in Super Bowl wins. The Patriots are down at number 5 with a lower win percentage all time than the Dallas Cowboys. Therefore, with Augustine's rules, Augustine, this was what you created. We are now going with the average. 1 and 2 equals 1.5. So the Cowboys will say are 2A. They are 2 or 1A. 1A. 1 and 5. You're at 3. Augustine, thank you for your rule for the remainder and in perpetuity. We get to talk about how great the Dallas Cowboys are. Augustine, I appreciate you. We applaud you. Tommy Cananza is loving this as well. Augustine, I appreciate that ruling of yours. Augustine saying, what ineptitude? Do we forget all? That's how I know you are a bandwagon. We jumped on this whenever they got good in the early 2000s. Fan of the Patriots. They were bad from the 60s all the way to the 2000s. Yes, there were those one-off years where they lost in the Super Bowl to the Bears, where they lost in the Super Bowl to the Packers. All of the in-between of that was hot garbage. The hottest of dog shit. Like a turd that just fell out of a dog's ass is what the New England Patriots were for that whole entire time up until Tom Brady. Augustine, man, big fumble there, my guy. Thank you, Augustine. I cannot, this one for sure is going on social media. Augustine saying the winningest franchise in NFL history can talk about their wins as long as they remain the winningest franchise in NFL history. We're going to go off of average of Super Bowl wins and overall wins, and the Dallas Cowboys are that team. Man, thank you, Augustine. Augustine. Thank you. Thank you so much, Augustine. I know this is killing you on the inside. I love every second of it. Okay. Looking at the comments here, Moat Super Bowl wins. All right, whoever has the Moat Super Bowl wins. Most of Texas Super Bowl wins? Yes, the Dallas Cowboys. Look at that. Thank you, Augustine. You are amazing, my guy. I appreciate you so much. The most of Texas Super Bowl wins. Oh, man. I love how you're like tripling down on this now, man. Like, it's okay. You've solidified it. The Dallas Cowboys, the most winningest franchise in sports, get to talk about their Super Bowl wins until they are no longer the most winningest franchise in sports. Most winningest. I don't think that's the right way of saying it. The winningest franchise? Most successful franchise in sports. Oh, man. Augustine, you are... I'm going to have to build like there's going to have to be a statue for you. I might find like a minifigure of you and put over here with the luchadors. Like, it's going to be... Augustine, you've made this old 40-year-old decrepit man. You've made me happy. Thank you so much, Augustine. That right there has to be the greatest gift I could have gotten this holiday season. Other than Happy Nuts. Get the bulber from Happy Nuts. You see it over here, right? I've got it in the tree. Get the bulber from Happy Nuts. Have yourselves a good old time. Make sure you're nice and smooth for the holiday season. No nicks, no cuts, no pulls, just a smooth, clean shave. I was even thinking about using it on my head, but I'm not going to do that because I like the blade feel. So we're just going to go with that. Also, it's been in an area where I don't want it to be on my head. Maybe I'm old-fashioned like that. I don't use the same towel and the same rag that I would use up here for down there. So I'm always going to switch those things up. But get yourself a fantastic holiday present, slightly better than the one that Augustine just gave Dallas Cowboys fans in perpetuity with myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. That's professionalism right there. Augustine saying, at least I have the same body as the luchadors. Augustine asking, which head? Don't ask questions you don't want to know the answer to, my guy. I love the fact that like I can just talk in my normal voice and it's just going to come off just creepy as shit. Like it's a gift, really. It's really a gift. All right. And then Tommy Kanata asking about, as long as the Cowboys, going back to the comment of whenever the Cowboys as the most winningest franchise, until they are no longer the most winningest franchise in sports. And Tommy's saying, to be honest, it'll be pretty soon. I think the Green Bay Packers, let's see where the Packers are on this list. I know they're in second place, and they have a 572 win percentage. I know that it'll take quite a bit of time for the Packers to surpass the Cowboys. Like it would need to be a couple of catastrophic seasons in order for it to happen. Augustine's saying at this rate it'll be soon. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it if it would be soon too. I with a lot of teams you can look and be like, hey, they've got a future. With the Cowboys, you're kind of like, they've got a future? Maybe? They got some pieces there. How are they going to keep Micah Parsons? What's the offensive line going to be like? It hurts my voice to go that high, so I'm going to stop. But I mean, I wouldn't doubt if it winds up being sometime soon with the Dallas Cowboys. Like obviously they're again, like thinking about trajectory, right? The Green Bay Packers are on their way up. The Cowboys are either flatlining or kind of going on their way down. So for me, it's debatable to see like what's going to happen with the Cowboys in the next couple of years. If they, I was thinking about this, what the nightmare scenario for the Dallas Cowboys would be this year. And for me, it would be winning either 2 or 3 more games this year. I think they can beat Carolina. If they lose to Carolina, then that means the Cowboys get the tiebreaker as far as, the better draft pick goes. But I feel like I can watch them beat Carolina. I could probably watch them beat Tampa Bay. I wouldn't be surprised if they beat Washington. I would be extremely surprised if they beat Philadelphia. But if the Cowboys beat Philadelphia, then that means there's an asteroid headed to Earth and we've all got minutes to live. There's no way. Again, I don't like to speak in absolutes, but I will say this. I won't do the absolutes thing. It won't happen. The Cowboys will not beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Tommy Canassa saying the problem is, Augustine, the Patriots ain't gaining ground anytime soon. That's the big problem for Augustine, right? Like the Patriots aren't going to get close to the Cowboys now. Think about that. Think about the 20 years that we've had, the 20 years of success that the Patriots have had, and the 20 years of just mediocrity that the Cowboys had, where Dave Campo was the head coach and they were going 5-11 3 straight years in a row. How the hell does that happen? Where the Cowboys had Chan Gailey as a coach. When Ryan Leaf was the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys while Tom Brady was the quarterback for the Patriots. Where Vinny Testaverde, at like 9,000 years old, was taking snaps for the Cowboys as he was on the same roster with Drew Bledsoe and Tony Romo. Quincy Carter, doing more cocaine than Michael Irvin in the 90s. I remember seeing because I was really plugged in whenever I first moved back here to El Paso with the semi-professional football leagues that we had in the city. And I remember a team from Amarillo coming to El Paso to play against the one of the I think it was the Sun City Reapers was the name of the team. And their quarterback for this semi-professional football team was Quincy Carter. And I remember thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, man, you were the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. And then 15 years later, maybe actually it might have been a little more than that, say 18, almost 20 years later, you're a semi-professional football player in the RGFL, the Rio Grande Football League. And I just remember thinking to myself, Jesus Christ, man, like that's a sad way to fall. Tommy Cananza saying Drew Henson and Chad Hutchinson, who were better pitchers than they were quarterbacks. Yeah. Drew Henson was a third baseman for the Yankees. He might have been on that team that made it to the World Series against the 03. No, I have to look at it. I think he was on one of the Yankees World Series teams. I don't know if he has a ring. That'd be cool if he has a ring. Man, I'll have to think about that one. Going back, looking over at the comment section. I'm waiting for Augustine's rebuttals. I think we might have broke him today. He gave love to the Dallas Cowboys, which is like the worst thing for Augustine to do. And I think that he's broken now. Like he's trying to find a way to weasel out of what he said, giving the Dallas Cowboys in perpetuity and their fans the ability to brag about how they are the most winning franchise in sports, the winningest franchise in sports, the success that they've had. Man, Augustine, that was a great gift, my friend. It really was. All right. Want to look at some of the stuff going on here, sports world-wise. I saw the Juan Soto press conference yesterday, and it damn near made me hate baseball again. All right. Anyway, so I know a couple of y'all had asked me yesterday, like, hey, let's talk a little bit about, and I think Augustine has basically been the main perpetrator of this, of let's talk a little bit about what happened with iHeartMedia. And to say that it's been a long roller coaster of emotions when it comes to iHeart, I get that everything's a business, right? Like at the end of the day, it's all about money. It's all about XYZ, meeting the bottom line, all that good stuff. And I remember in early 2020, before, we got hit with COVID, iHeart had a reduction in force. They had a RIF. So if you hear me say RIF, that's what I'm talking about. iHeart had a RIF, a reduction in force. And they laid off about 2/3 of the staff in January of 2020. And we're talking about, some people that have been there for a long time, a very long time. People that I would consider mentors of mine in radio. And at that point, I thought that I was probably going to be one of those people let go because I was already having my own battles with some management types about my show. And it was just along the lines of your sales staff isn't selling the show for whatever reason. They're not selling the show. They want me to sell the show, but I'm also in charge of all of the audio production. So all the commercials, all of the stuff on 6 different stations, and not just iHeart El Paso, but also like Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and like Columbus, Ohio, and like other places like that. My voice was in like 75 markets, and it was recording a bunch of different commercials for all of those markets, right? Obviously, compared to some other jobs out there, it's not a tough job, but it's just an unrelenting job, like a conveyor belt of just service after service after service that needs to be made. So I can't go out and sell the show while I'm doing my job regularly as well. And then whenever I would sell the show, instead of just saying, you know what, yeah, let's get this company in to sponsor just, the Tipping Point show on Fox Sports, it would wind up being, well, let's try to get more money out of this mom and pop and have them, advertise on Power 102 as well, so the salesperson could get more money out of it. Obviously, if I'm going to you and I'm telling you that I would like you to advertise on my show, I know that I have the cheaper rates in the building because, let's face it, AM radio is on life support. Why would I be comfortable knowing that I gave you to a salesperson who's trying to just gouge more out of you because they want more in their pocket because of what the XYZ is? And again, like, I get business, right? But you can't have something grow without nurturing it first, without establishing some type of ROI, return on investment, at first. So anytime I'd get a sponsor, just quickly, they'd be gone. The salespeople would love to bring me like live reads and stuff like that, things that I would have to do on my show, guests from other shows and things like that, or big sponsors. They would have them come into my studio and just to sit there and talk. I wouldn't get anything out of it. It would just be them doing what they want to do, right? And again, like, I don't care about whether or not I'm getting paid. I care about the product of the show. So for me, it was like, okay, if some dude's paying you X amount of money, he wants to come and talk on the show, he's got to know what the hell he's talking about, right? Like that was always my main thing. And then it would always be along the lines, Tommy Cananza saying that I'm a good man, always looking out for the little guy. I guess it's because I'm the little guy, right? Like, I've always been super humbled in my approach in this industry because I have a military background. I'm, again, from Socorro, right? Like, it's not like I came from some affluent area. I know what it's like to struggle with your bills. And like, I understand from, the people that I know that own companies, what it's like to try to make payroll. So whenever you trust me to give me, even if it was like $150 a month, all I wanted was a local advertisement spot on my show. So that way, whenever I create a commercial, I can put it out on my social because I know that that's where I get more traction. And then just have, something added with that, right? My whole deal with iHeart at that point in time was, you guys want to try to get as much money as you can out of people. I get it. That's the name of the game. That's what radio advertising is. But if I'm going to a smaller business and I'm telling you, talk to this person to try to get me $150 worth of advertising, which in the grand scheme of thing ain't much. Out of that $150, I get zero. The salesperson gets like 15, or actually no. With iHeart on AM radio stations, the salesperson would get 50% of what the sale was because that's how little they valued AM radio. And then I would say, go talk to Dave & Buster's. Go talk to Top Golf. Go talk to Hooters. Like let's do some of this stuff so we can get the show out there. A lot of people don't realize this. I had to build that studio. I ran the wires to get the microphones to work. I bought the microphones. This microphone right here, I bought because there wasn't a microphone in 1380 at that point in time. I had to run the lights. I had to, I'm in there constantly as a dude making $10 an hour at that point in time because I was part-time. As a dude making $10 an hour at that time, spending my money to build a studio here because I wanted to try to do something that hadn't been done on that radio station in 35 years. The last time they had a local show on that radio station was the year I was born. And that was always mind-blowing to me. For those that don't know, 1380 is the original radio station in El Paso. It was KTSM, 1380 at the point in time. It's the one that broadcasted UTEP's national championship game. In the early 2000s, they switched it because they wanted KTSM to have a better signal, so they moved it over to 690. It used to be 690 KHA, and then they put that KHA AM on 1380, right? But I'm like, this is the original radio station in town. Like, we need to hype that up. We need to talk about like how great that is that we have at iHeart with all the nonsense we have. this radio station. And it was just a never ending battle with them to just even acknowledge my existence, right? And again, like, I'm not a cocky dude. If you actually know a little bit about me, you know that, like, I don't take myself seriously at all. I do a fucking commercial for a nut company. Like, I talk about my nuts. Like, that's how little seriously I take myself, you know, or how unseriously I take myself. But I remember, you know, thinking to myself whenever I first got hired there, and that's where I knew I was going to have issues, is whenever I first got hired. And a lot of it was like, well, people are going to say that because you worked at ESPN, that you're going to hold that over their head, like, you know better. And my whole mindset was no. Like, I worked at ESPN. It's a completely different thing than it was from iHeart El Paso. I'm not going to do that. And you can ask anybody that knows me. I don't talk about the ESPN stuff all that often. I will if it's time to flex on a motherfucker because they want to doubt who I am. And again, that's just the ghetto kid in me coming out, right? You bring it out of me, I'll flip what I've done in my career versus what anyone else has done in their career, and let's see which one's better. But I never held it against people, right? Because I understand that I was a maniac when it came to doing this stuff in this industry. And then it came down to, well, people are going to be uncomfortable because you used to work at Town Square. And for those that don't know what Town Square is, it's KLAQ, KISS FM, and the 600 ESPN El Paso. And I thought to myself, why? Why would they care? I was a traffic host for QView Traffic on 95.5 KLAQ. And then I did, like, you know, Chihuahuas games and basketball games and, you know, all the stuff with Kaplowitz, which again, I love doing. I just wasn't going to make $7.25 an hour. I didn't want to make $7.25 an hour doing that. And I kept thinking to myself, like, man, they're really coming up with all these, like, things of what I need to do, like how I need to act. So I need to make sure that I'm a decent human being. And what I would do is every day I got to work, 8 o'clock in the morning, I would go to every single person in the building and simply say, good morning. Is there anything you need me to help you with before I get to work? I would stop at some of the studios, wait for the on-air light to turn off, simply pop my head in and say, good morning. Y'all are doing great on your show today. Can I help with anything? I didn't have to do that shit. I really didn't have to do that shit. And one of those studios, whenever I would pop my head in and say good morning, would not acknowledge my simple existence. It took 6 months from August until February for me to even get a hello back. Do you know how shitty that is for a person like me to go into your studio, simply say good morning every day, 5 days a week for 6 months, and not simply get the acknowledgement of hello? But I still kept doing it. And I felt like that was building the relationship. You know, I'm trying to prove that you can trust me, that I'm not going to give your trade secrets, which there are none in radio. You all do the same shit. There are no trade secrets in radio, to my friends that are across the street, right? Like, because that's what they were worried about, that I was going to give them the secret sauce that iHeartMedia had to the people across the street. It's just not going to happen. Everyone does the same damn thing. Some do it better than others. That's the only difference. So for 6 months, I'm doing this, just, you know, doing my thing, buying donuts every Friday, just, you know, hey, you want some donuts? They're over here in my studio, to try to get people to come and hang out and just get to know a little bit about myself. Again, $10 an hour. I'm buying 2 dozen donuts. I basically got to work the rest of the day to get my money back. You know what I mean? And I was part-time. And there were a lot of times, because I was still living down in Socorro, where it would be, okay, you got to come do a remote. It's only going to be a 1-hour remote, but you got to come do it. So I would drive from Socorro all the way up to the west side to get a van, to drive back to the east side, to drive back up to the west side after an hour, and then drive back to Socorro, and only get paid $10 for. I'm a grown man at this point with kids, and I'm going to school, and I'm doing, like, all the stuff that I've got to do, right? And I'm still getting told, well, you're not taking this seriously enough. I'm like, man, what do I got to do? What do I got to do? I got to prove myself. I know I got to prove myself, so let me keep doing it. I finally get the show in December Wow, December 28th of 2018. And it's a 1 day a week on Friday show that has to be pre-recorded because 1380 doesn't have the ability to go live. But I got it, dude. That's all I care about. I got it. I got an hour, 1 day a week on a radio station. I'm a happy dude, right? I do 2 shows and I get called into the main office, and man, people are saying since we gave you the show that you've been really cocky. How? Okay, you know what? My bad. Whatever it is, I'll work on it. I will talk to people better. I'm still doing the same thing. Still, hello, good morning, everyone. Do you need me? That type of thing. But okay, you know what? I get it. Sometimes whenever people get something that they worked hard for, they don't realize that they're walking around with the air of arrogance. So I will calm it down. I'll be all right. We finally get the show to be a daily show in October of 2019. And with the daily show comes the need to have a producer, at least especially on radio. We had to try to find a way to run a phone line. We had to share a phone line with the AM station across the hall from us. We didn't even have our own dedicated phone line, but I wanted to have people be able to call in and just be a part of the show. So in order to call in, I got to have someone there to push a button for the microphone to turn on, to play music, to play commercials, to do all that stuff. First producer I had was Marky Mix. That's still my dude. Got nothing but love for him. He's putting out new music all the time. You'll see me share it on Instagram, share it on Snapchat, share it on TikTok, all those places, right? And then it winds up becoming a battle about Mark, because Mark was a DJ, a power mixer on Power 102. And on Fridays at 5 o'clock, they had the 5 o'clock fiesta, or every day they had the 5 o'clock fiesta. I think that's what it was called. And they would have to be in there and mix and do their thing and make it live. This is where I'm going to pull back the curtain for some of you all about radio. 90% of what you hear on radio, 99% now, I'd say 95% now, what you hear on radio is pre-recorded. If that's a big shock to people, oh my God, I apologize. I Wizard of Oz'd you. Everyone else was allowed to pre-record their mixes and put them in, except Mark. Mark had to do his live for whatever reason. And it winds up being, he was being pulled in different directions. We don't want you to do Tipton's show because we feel like it's dead end. Like, sales isn't going to sell it. It's an AM thing. Go be a DJ here. You'll be all right. And I totally got that. I even told Mark a bunch of times, like, dude, if they're telling you to do this, don't worry about my shitty show. I'll find a way. Go do what they need you to do, because you don't want to have a bad name based off of me, right? I found a way to try to do a radio show by myself. And that's why I'm able to do all this shit by myself, is because iHeart forced me to be able to do it. It got to the point where if I got a phone call, I went full Larry King with it of, caller, you're on the air. What's your name? What you want to talk about? I didn't even have a dump button. Like if someone cussed on the radio at that point, I didn't have a button to turn it off or anything. I would have to get yelled at. Luckily, nobody cussed, but it was still one of those things of like, Jesus Christ, man. Like, I've got to try to, spin all these plates while also recording commercials for other things and like doing all these other, bits and pieces of things. We wind up having a big, I don't want to say argument, but I guess disagreement on, management and me on what happens with Mark. And it's, you're corrupting him, which I thought was a hilarious thing to say to somebody. You're corrupting him, you immoral son of a bitch. You are corrupting him, and you're making him, do this shit and do all this. And I was like, I'm not making him do anything. He's a grown-ass man, for one. He can make up his own mind on what he wants to do. He told me when I got there that it was super cool that I worked at ESPN, and he wanted to get into sports journalism. And I said, yeah, man, anytime you want to learn some stuff, you want to hang out, I'm cool with that. He wanted to produce my show, I'm cool with that. I still have, and I'll find a way to put him out there somewhere because I love it, I still have his voice as like my very first intro on the show. And he's like trying to sound like me. He's like, it's the tipping point with Mike Tipton. And the whole thing with it was like, he's his own man. Like let him do his own thing. I don't want him to be looked at as like a piece of shit because he's doing a show with me. Fast forward, he winds up becoming one of those people. Augustine's saying you supported so many without you being supported. That was the goal, dude. Like, I knew even now. I appreciate that. Oh, that means a lot to me, Augustine. I know even now, like, I have two former students of mine that are at UTEP right now, and they want to get into journalism. And my whole thing with them is like, dude, I got you. One of them, his name is Diego. The other one's name is Aramari. And Diego is a great photographer. So whenever like Club America came to play against the Bravos, I got him on the sideline to do that. I got him on the sideline to do the UTEP football games. My whole thing is like, I know because I started so late that my window is short, right? Like, I talk about the 49ers window closing. Shit, my window might be closing before theirs is, right? I didn't want to be the 50-year-old dude just coming on here and being like, get off my lawn, sports back in my day, right? Like, it's funny. I do it ironically, I think, most of the time, right? Whenever I catch myself, I'll be like, holy shit, I'm becoming a senile old man. Tommy Carranza saying, me too, Tip. We got your back, brother. I appreciate that. So I was like, you know what? Mark's got to do his thing. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. iHeart has the layoffs. Unfortunately, Mark is one of those people. Dude, I'm in my office just bawling my eyes out because of how many people got laid off at that moment. Watching someone's dream come to a perceived end is absolutely heartbreaking to watch because I knew how much passion these people had for this industry that doesn't pay you jack shit, right? I knew coming into this that it wasn't going to be a moneymaker. Like, it was just going to be a fun thing to do. I get to be on the radio. I get a couple of free pizzas from Little Caesars every now and then. I get a couple of free donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. I get some sodas from the good guys at Khalil. RC Soda. RC Cola. My bad. RC Cola. And I'm like, I was happy about that stuff. Augustine saying he's going to have breakfast. I hope you enjoy your breakfast. All right, but getting back, so they lay a bunch of people off. I have a meeting with the people at iHeart, the management people at iHeart, the program managing people at iHeart, and her lackey, for lack of a better term. He's not important. He's been like a life part-time type person. And it's one of these meetings of like, we got to air out the grievances, right? Because it's just us now. You're talking about a nightmare scenario. It's just us. Mike Rivera's still there, so at least I got Mike Rivera on my side, and we're still like, we'll find a way to make the show work. Whatever y'all need, I got your back. Whatever the personal differences are, I got your back. I'm a grown-ass adult. I know how to work in the damn workplace. I know how to put personal issues to the side to get a job done, right? That's what being a fucking adult is about. So we go on these things. They have to take a sabbatical because one of their main people, and I understand, one of their main people got laid off, and it really hurts whenever your family gets ripped apart, right? So I understand they take a little sabbatical. I'm picking up more remotes now, and I'm happy with it because that just means more money coming my way. But it sucks because I'm spending 16 to 18 hours a day at work. I'm full-time at this point in time. I'm spending 16 to 18 hours a day at work doing whatever remotes I need to do, catching up on whatever things I need to catch up on as far as, radio commercial production goes. Still doing my show. I would do my show, go home to pick up my kids, bring them over to the radio station, just so that way I can see them before they went to bed at night, because I wouldn't leave the radio station until like 10 o'clock at night. I'd get there at 7 o'clock in the morning, leave at 10 o'clock at night. Again, because I loved it. I still do love it. Would I go back and change it? Not a goddamn thing. COVID happens, more layoffs, all the nonsense of that stuff happens. And then it winds up being me, Andrew Polk, who I've got nothing but love for. You can see him on ABC7, and Mike Rivera as the three people basically making sure that all 6 iHeart stations were still functioning, were still doing their thing. I mean, I've got a remote computer. I have the badge somewhere in here where it's like essential employee. If anything happens with the FCC, or if the world was coming to an end, I had a badge that meant I needed to get to iHeart, so that way, if someone tuned into the radio, they can hear me giving them what the police are saying to survive. Basically, that's the world that we were living in early 2020, right? So I'm there all the time, and I would make the videos, put them on TikTok, do all that stuff of like, man, this place has to be haunted, because I'd be there by myself from at least 7 o'clock in the morning till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Whenever Andrew and Mike Rivera would come in, sometimes Rivera would get there a little earlier. Sometimes there was an engineer there, but for the most part, it was me and all of iHeart by myself. And I'd be like, there was a knocking sound over here. I heard someone talking, and there's nothing on in this building because it's just me. So maybe there's a ghost here, right? We're having fun. I thought the show at that point, those were some of the most fun shows that I've had, because it was just us as like dudes trying to navigate what life was in 2020, right? There were no sports. How do you do a sports show with no sports? Well, find a way, dude. Adapt and overcome, right? A lot of other people just stopped doing a show. Couldn't be me, because I knew that my show at that point in time was, because people would tell me that it was like an escape from reality from them. I wouldn't mention the COVID stuff all that often. I would talk about the places that were still open. I would talk about going out and supporting local. I would do those types of things, right? November 2020 comes, and I'm told that they no longer need me. I'm out the door. Augustine, my dude, I got nothing but love for you. I always will. You've been a real one. Augustine was so pissed off at iHeart at that point in time that he was going to protest. He was going to try to get a group of people to protest outside of iHeart for them laying me off. And I realized at that moment, like, I got to keep going. I got to do a podcast. This is where this has been, right? I've been podcasting ever since then. All the while between 2020 and now, I always had a good relationship with Walter Alvarez. He's the GM, or was the GM over at iHeart up until May. And we always spoke about like finding some way to get the show on air, just because they wanted to have something. During COVID, my radio station, 1380, because I was able to get some sponsors to like give us just anything, was one of 12 radio stations nationwide for iHeart that actually made money. And it was weird to see it was the only AM station that made money for iHeart that year. But it's because I was out there just hustling my ass off, trying to get my own sales, helping out the sales staff, doing my own thing. So he saw the value in the show. And I'll always, have love for him on this one. I just wish that it would have been a little more support. Just make your salespeople sell it. Even if I've got to give them an incentive, I don't know what it is, but like let's come up and find a way where we can make it survive. 2020 ends, 2021 comes, and Walter's like, hey, let's like get the show on. We can come up with a deal where you pay for the time, but you can get your sponsors and do XYZ. And we do that. It didn't work all that well the first time because I wasn't allowed, for whatever reason, I wasn't allowed to go into the building at iHeart. I would have to, it was going to be a 1 day a week show. I was going to have to pre-record it on like a Wednesday for it to air on a Friday. If you know the sports world, there ain't no way in hell that you can air, like, that you can do a show on a Wednesday and have it still good on Friday. Like in sports, it's not going to happen. But I did it. And I kept doing it that way, trying to do it that way. Ultimately, I was like, you know what, guys, this ain't going to work. Like, let's try to revisit this another time. In December of last year, I'm doing Fire and Ice. I'm doing all the stuff like that with Brandon, still doing my own thing, teacher, doing all that. Walter approaches me. I was like, hey, let's try to do this again. But I have this idea. We can do XYZ, blah, blah, blah. At this point, I have an engineer, Daver. If you've watched Fire and Ice, you've heard of Daver. And Daver is a great dude, had just retired from Town Square Media. Brilliant, brilliant mind. Like, ultimately, one of the best people I've ever ran into in this industry is Daver. I got none but love for you, buddy. And Daver goes into the iHeart studios, figures out all the stuff that we need because they basically gutted 1380, finds out all the stuff that we need to get back on the air. And my only thing with them is it's a Saturday show. I'll be there by myself with Brandon. Let me go into the building so at least that way we can seem legit. Like if I'm buying the air from you, at least let me do this, right? I'm paying you for a product. At least let me do this. We get a couple of shows in after Daver has spent, I want to say it was 10 straight days, about 12 hours a day, getting that studio ready to go. And I felt so bad because it felt like a waste of his time at the end of the day, because iHeart then, and it wasn't even iHeart corporate, it was just the middle manager at iHeart, who, I will come out and say this now, is a petty piece of shit. I will own that for the rest of my... You are not nearly as important or nearly as big and powerful as you think you are. You're big, but you are not nearly as big and powerful as you think you are. Your little buddy, he ain't shit either. He's been a part-time dude his entire fucking life, and that's cool. What he does with his nonprofit, by all means, dude, do you. I'm about nonprofits. That's a fantastic thing that you do. But as a person, the two of you didn't realize they can stack shit that high. She comes up with this plan now that is that I am unable to go into the studio because they need to have an iHeart employee there to run the board. Fuck, I'm cool with that. I'll pay the guy out of my pocket. I'm actually already paying for him to be there by buying the airtime on the show. But you know what? If I got to pay him a little extra, I'm in. My history has shown that I'm all about helping out whoever the hell I got to help out. I think I've proven that enough in just this little diatribe that I've been talking about. And thank you all for actually sticking with this. I know this has got to be super annoying to hear me talk about this nonsense. And then ultimately it comes down to, well, that's not going to be good enough. Well, why isn't it going to be good enough? Oh, well, now we're saying that if you have a show is called bartered programming, if you have a bartered program where I'm paying to be on air, it can't be live. It has to be pre-recorded. Okay, well, if it's pre-recorded, what time do I have to turn it in by? What days can I go into the studio to record? Because I want to look legitimate to my audience and to my guests. My name ain't enough. Like if I'm associated with your radio station, I got to have access to your radio station. No, you can't go into the radio station. It's just going to have to be pre-recorded. You're also going to have to give us a show like Thursday afternoon, so that way we can make sure everything is good with it. Because if you cuss, we have to take the words out. Well, if I'm recording the show, I'll edit it myself. I'll take out what needs to be taken out. I've done this long enough to know how it works. But I can't give you a show on Thursday. Can I give it to you like Friday night? No, we can't do that. It has to be Thursday. Well, then it's not going to be good on Saturday morning. Like, this is the rebuttal that I'm having, the back and forth that I'm having with them at the end of the day. Granted, I've already been approved by the NFL to go to the NFL draft in Detroit on behalf of this fucking radio station. They tell me this the week I'm supposed to leave to the NFL draft. Tommy Cananza saying, we love it, Tip. Keep going. I think that this is a thing for me. Is like, I haven't spoken about this to anyone other than Destiny. Like, I guess maybe Andrew J. Polk. Like, a couple of people have heard me actually go into detail about what this stuff has been, about the nightmare scenario that it was with iHeart. And my whole thing was just protecting myself, right? Like, what if maybe some point in time iHeart wants to hire me again and they see this? I sat there and I thought to myself, if iHeart wanted to hire me again, they would have. I've applied to a lot of iHeart stations over the last few years. I've had interviews with a bunch of iHeart stations out of El Paso for the last few years. It's just hard for me to accept a lot of those positions because it would mean moving again. It would mean uprooting my kids from what they have. And ultimately, I didn't care. My goal wasn't to go work at ESPN when I got into this industry. It was to simply have a sports talk show on AM radio. The bar was set this low, my guys. Like, it was so damn low. That's all I wanted. I didn't want to be Buzz Adams, who was awesome, by the way. Great fucking dude. so much different than the other people at that other radio station that has a morning show. Buzz Adams is a great dude, and he's out there looking out for his people. There was never that at iHeart. And I remember telling them all the time, they would ask me, well, Tip, what's the biggest difference between Town Square and iHeart? And I would say flatly, Town Square makes you feel like you have value. The amount of times that someone like Glenn Garza would walk down the hallway with like a liquor cart on a Friday or even a damn Monday just because it's been one of those days was awesome. The amount of times I did a Chihuahuas game just hanging out with like my friends in the studio, Peter Carrillo, Michelle Salazar, Sal Montes, like just hanging out as like friends, genuine friends. I still talk to those people. Hell, I went to Connecticut in October and hung out with people that I hadn't seen in 7 years whenever I left ESPN. There are very few people at iHeart that I know I could even talk to right now. And a lot of the people that had this perceived notion that I was some piece of shit have since seen like, oh, wow, dude, like you're not that bad. One of the people that I thought was like the worst that was against me has become a very, very good friend in recent times. And I'm trying to do everything I can to help her get back to her radio dream that she had. Because like I said a bunch of times, there's nothing worse than watching that dream come to an end whenever you had no say in how it ends. That was always my thing with iHeart was you motherfuckers let me go after giving you all of this time, after being the one that kept you on air for so long. There was 3 of us, Mike Rivera, Andrew Polk, myself, the engineers, Anthony, and God, I can't think of his name right now. It's going to bother the hell out of me. My bad, dude. I'll get your name right now. I had some other shit going on in my mind. But basically the 5 of us there in that studio during COVID, making sure that everything was working the way that it needed to work. Me going through every single one of the commercial logs on all the radio stations daily to make sure that ads were in the places that they needed to be so that our advertisers weren't coming after us because we were already so strung for money. That small group of people that kept that radio station on air just tossed over to the side like nothing. And I get it. It's a business. I'm a very cold-hearted person when it comes to like actual emotions. And so I've called myself a robot a bunch of times. I'm very much like Sheldon Cooper. I get that business aspect of things. But to watch somebody's dream die when they had no say in what happens with it, because in the city of El Paso, there's not a whole bunch of options. And the options that are out there are iHeartRadio. And they don't want to have live local people on their air. The Power 102 morning show is, I think, the only live thing they have. Amber Banda with Kehei is doing a great job. She's trying her best to buck against that system. And I hope ultimately at the end of the day that it works out for her. But I hope she gets the support that people like me, people like Monica Castillo, people like Marky Mix didn't get. And it's going to be so hard for her because there's only 2 people there with her. And again, they are huge pieces of shit. I got no problem saying that. I will own that to the day that I go into a damn deep ass hole in the ground. Joey, that's right. Sorry, Drea. Joey Vela, that's my dude. Anthony, Joey Vela, Mike Rivera, Andrew Polk, and even my goofy little ass. From March until November of 2020 were the reason why radio was on the air at iHeart at that point in time. Me even having to dub in a morning show that should have been live, that there was enough space that you could have been in the studio, but you didn't want to be. You know what? I get that someone is immunocompromised, and that's fine. I get it. You had the ability to, that he could have done it at home. You should have been in the studio. As the leader of the damn place, you should have been there. And you were absent. Talking all the shit you want, though. Talking all the shit you want. I'm bad at my job. Mike Rivera's bad at his job. At least we were fucking there. Sorry. As you can tell, it's been a lot of pent up over the last couple of years. I love still this industry. That's the only that's why I do this stuff, right? Like I say it all the time, like my audience, you guys are awesome for dealing with my bullshit. This is my therapy, man. This is the way that I deal with the PTSD and the manic depression and all that other nonsense like that. Is the ability to get here, talk to y'all. I don't know how the hell I have an audience, and I appreciate all of you that have actually listened because I see the numbers right here in front of me, and it's been sustained since this little story time started. It's I think frustrating is the word, as Tommy Canazza was saying. We can tell, bro, it must have been really frustrating or so frustrating. It was. And like it still is because I see the potential there. It breaks my heart, dude. Dr. Tommy. I'm with it, Dr. Tommy. I'll sit down on the couch. You just tell me that everything I'm doing is terrible and I'll get better at it. But that's the thing is like I still see that, man. And I'm like, we're the 20th largest city in this country. How do we not have live people? I get not having it 24/7, but the morning, noon, and afternoon drive, we can't have local people. Hell, we don't even have local people doing our traffic reports on 6 radio stations in this city. 4 of the biggest radio stations in this city don't have a local traffic reporter who doesn't know how to pronounce the name of the damn town. Like that to me is just mind-blowing to me. But it's the way that the industry is going. And I understand that like we've got to create our own little networks and do all this stuff and blah, 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 blah. It's the passion and love that I have for this thing, which is why I've kept doing it for damn 4 years. The amount of money I lost going to Union Draft House, paying for me, Brandon, Daver, and my family, and sometimes whatever guest that we would have to go out and eat lunch at noon. Dude, there was one point in time when Navy Federal called me. I was like, guy, you're spending like $1,200 a month at Union Draft House. What the fuck? Like, are you okay? Are you an alcoholic? And it was no. Like, I'm treating my friends for supporting me to be on this. I wasn't even making money. Again, like the perks of being a disabled veteran, right? As long as I'm breathing, I get to cash a check. The second I stop breathing, that's $400,000 that goes to my family. I'm good, man. I've also got insurance and things like that that's going to help me out if I do go. But I also want to prove to my kids that you can chase your dream and be successful at it. Because I've seen people's dreams die. Like just right in front of me. I've seen the dream die. And that's the most heartbreaking part of it. Whenever you have to sit there and watch someone try to hold on like they're holding on to a balloon and up, trying to hold on to that one thing that they had faith in, that they had love in, and watching it slip ever further away from them. It's heartbreaking, man. And then to see the people that don't care about it the way that these other people care about it continue to get rewarded for it because all they care about is having the platform. If you moved your show to a different station, your show would be incrementally, exponentially more successful. But instead, you're focused on being who you were 30 years ago. You are the 1990s Dallas Cowboys. You are the 1980s Raiders. And like, I get it because I don't want their dream to die. That's the frustrating part about it. I don't want to witness their downfall. I still found a way to help them continue their damn success. But it's not going to be that way if they're just so unwilling to even have the conversation. Think about what it takes for me to be humbled this way. Where once again, I can say definitively that I am the only person in this city to do what I have done in this media space. I am the only one. I have had a successful podcast since 2015, December 29th, 2015. I did my very first podcast. I'm going on 9 years of that stuff, man. Tommy Canazza saying you're an inspiration, brother. Listening to your story and everything that you've been through, and you're still doing your thing. That's amazing, bro. My dude, if you heard about the childhood, I think that's what it was, right? Like my childhood wasn't easy. I'm the youngest of 11. I'm adopted, right? We grew up on a farm. My dad had another family, so we didn't have like a lot of money with all the work we did. I was working under mobile homes, like cutting sewage lines with a hacksaw at like 6 years old. I've had a job basically my whole life. I knew that like, or I was taught basically, I didn't know, but I was taught early on that the only way you get love in this world is just by working your ass off. And that's not a mindset that I want my kids to have. So I'm over the top with like, telling them I love them, telling them I'm proud. I served in the damn military. My parents never told me they were proud of me. I heard my mom say she loves me once. And that was like after my daughter passed away. Right? Like there's a lot that's built me the way that I am, that makes me see things the way that I do, because I realize like what a real actual struggle is. I always made the joke that like maybe I should change my name to be more like relatable to people in El Paso, because you hear the name Michael Robert Tipton and you think to yourself, oh my God, that's like that dude's got like a 890 credit score. I can't relate to that guy. And you see me and you're like, oh yeah, that dude? Nah, I can relate to that guy. A big fat guy that loves to drink, I can relate to that, right? But like I even now, like my goal now is like I know this show has a lifespan, and the lifespan is going to come to the end. But I know when the end is. I know when I pull the plug on this show that it's going to be me giving you my most heartfelt goodbye. What I didn't get to do with iHeart, right? Because at least that like the last day there at iHeart, I laughed that my last show that they paid me to do, I was dressed up as Joe Exotic on Halloween. That's still so funny to me. But they had me go in on a Monday and then told me at noon that I wasn't needed anymore. And I sat there and I thought to myself, you couldn't have given me one more show, just one more show, to be able to say goodbye to the audience that supported me there. I think that's all we want. The people that have been laid off in this industry is like the chance to say thank you. You can try to find me here. If you see me out in the street, come give me a little bit of love, right? That's all we want, is that opportunity for like the closure and the goodbye. And whenever it's robbed from you, it leaves a hole that just keeps getting bigger and bigger. Now, granted, like I said, I know my window is going to close. I know when that's going to be. I have my day in mind, right? So what I'm doing is I have a couple of kids that I hope I'm inspiring to chase this dream. And I'm not talking about like my own kids. I'm talking about like former students of mine. I have a group of people that I'm helping them get their podcast out, to have their voice. Because again, this can be like therapy. Even if it's something as stupid as me coming on here and being like, the Cowboys suck sometimes, don't they? It's still therapy, right? It's something that I have a passion for. That's what my goal ultimately is like whenever the tipping point with my Tipton comes to an end, at least I can look back down the road and be like, I helped that person do this. And I'm so damn proud of what they're doing right now. To see that, someone could be inspired by just a little stupid shit that I've done in this career. Again, the kid from Socorro who was told that the best he can do is go do like work in the oil fields because he wasn't smart enough to graduate from college. Real words that came out of my high school counselor's mouth. That kid isn't supposed to do the stuff that I've done. In a true moment of vulnerability, I will let you know that my goal was to join the military and be dead by 21. That was my life goal because I felt that my value was better dead than alive. That's still a battle that I have to fight on a regular basis. None of this was supposed to happen. None of this feasibly should have happened, right? But it was the determination, the fight, the passion to want to do this that took me to KLAQ as a traffic reporter, that took me to KTEP as a dude that had a late night show that maybe nobody listened to, talking about a genre of music he didn't know that he was learning at the same time, that took me to ESPN, that took me here to El Paso to work with iHeart, which I will always look at as a good time because I made some pretty decent friends there. It's just the people that were in charge, pieces of shit. End of discussion. You get to talk that shit about me, it finally comes back to you. 4 years it took me. 4 years it took me. How quick were you talking that shit about me? But I know that, like, I'm so lucky and so blessed to be able to do this nonsense. All I have, really, it's not that, like, I have some secret fucking sauce that allows me to say, look, I could be successful doing this. All I have, really, is the fact that I sound like this. That's the only thing I have working for me. The rest of it is just, I was able to somehow get y'all to buy into this. And now y'all are the reason why I want to keep doing this stuff. Y'all are the reason that's like, you've inspired me to be like, look, I've got 12 people watching right now. On one platform, I got 12 people watching right now. That's pretty damn cool. On another platform, if I hit the thing, it's going to show me whoever else is watching. I don't care about that. If it's me and one person, and I can change one person's mind about whatever and inspire them to do whatever, I've done my fucking job. That's simple. Those same people that were talking that shit about me, that called me a misogynist, I have 12 sisters. 12 sisters. I have been online on multiple platforms trying to support women as much as I possibly can. I, for free, broadcasted semi-professional women's football for 3 years. For free. Because I care about platforming other people. And to be called a misogynist, and to be called egotistical, and to be called all these other things shows how little they know about me. I have a great relationship with most of, I'll say this flatly, 96%, 95% of the people that I worked with. There are 3 people that I will refuse to talk to for the rest of my life that are out of any part of my career. 3 of them. That's it. That's it. So whose problem is it? Whose problem is it really? Sorry, y'all. I know I went off on a little bit of a tangent. Medusa Design saying, I'm so sorry, Tip. I know exactly how that feels. I will never let you go for your red balloon. I won't. Like I'm not. That's why I keep doing this. And the time that I do let go of that balloon, it's going to be on my terms, right? I had it ripped away. I know what it was like. And I don't want that for other people. And as long as I can, I am going to continue to do the stuff that I've got to do. Medusa Design saying, yep, those are facts. He was the biggest supporter of the WFA here. I still am. But the thing is I don't want to be loud about my philanthropy. I'm not that way. I was so uncomfortable being like having to be loud about supporting the Alzheimer's Association, which is still a program that I love, that like, because I don't want it to be about me. I don't want you guys to support something because I support something. I want you to support it because you want to support it. That's the difference in these things. I don't want to be like, oh, I'm doing this thing. Look at all the good things I'm doing in this world. I don't want that. I want to sit back and, like, at the end of the day, whenever I'm on my deathbed, look back and say, I did some pretty cool shit. I hope that you see that I did some pretty cool shit. That's literally all I care about. Oh, there's so much more, but I feel like I've been ranting for quite some time. My coffee is cold. I've got to talk about my nuts now. I've got to talk about my happy nuts now in about 30 minutes on TikTok. So if you're on TikTok, go find my live. I got to be talking about my happy nuts in just a little bit. Oh, there's a lot more. If y'all want to know, ask. I don't know like what to really say anymore. I appreciate the love and support. I'm pretty sure this is going to get back to people. I honestly don't give a fuck. You ain't nobody. Again, let's flip. They used to do this in the military. They'd say, let's flip stripes. Let's see who's got more, right? Like, let's flip. Let's flip careers. Let's compare them. Would you be able to do what I've done? Because I know I sure as fuck can do what you've done. Ain't nothing like doing a full show 3 minutes at a time. Hacks. Fuck them. All right, y'all. Like I said, I'm gonna take a breath, get my bearings about me, get ready to be the lively spokesperson that I've got to be for My Happy Nuts. Now go visit www.myhappynuts.com/Mike Tipton. Look at the great bundles they have. Remember, you can save up to 35% on the big package. Who wouldn't want to save up to 35% on a big package? Wait, phrasing? Either way, do it. Save up to 35% on the big package that they've got over there at www.myhappynuts.com. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. It was a little longer than I thought. It was a little more emotional than I thought. Had to fight back some tears. Tommy, Augustine, Destiny, Drea, Medusa, all the other people out there that I can't see that didn't comment on here. I appreciate the love and support. I've always got your back. Anytime you need me, I got you. I will see y'all a little bit later. Hopefully we'll see you on TikTok, so you can ask me about My Happy Nuts. What a dismount.